Yeah, one of the toughest things about seeing your mom or your dad having Alzheimer's, dementia, but memory care is so important. It is so tough and it's so emotional, I think, for everybody involved.
Absolutely. It's hard to know when is the right time. Is it the right time? Is it the right thing to do?
Yeah. Josie Winland is the executive director of Revere Court, a memory care place up in the Dallas area, up in Rockwall. And she joins us now. And memory care, it's so tough for everyone, I think, for the people there, for the people involved as far as kids and relatives. How do you emotionally put your arms around it and help people through the process?
I think the best way, at least the most effective way that I've seen work, is really embracing the family, but most importantly, working with a dementia professional that has walked in your shoes. Mm-hmm. Someone who truly knows what it's like to place their loved one in memory care. Really hard decisions are facing the family, emotional stuff, and being able to work with someone who can demystify the process, but also be with you through the process. Mm-hmm. Every family is different. Every loved one is different. Nobody's a cookie cutter. And I think that philosophy is very important to embrace through the journey.
Yeah.
And Josie, what would you say is kind of, how do you know when it's the right time?
It's the right time when the caregiver it becomes a safety concern for their loved one. Mm-hmm. Their loved one may be wandering, may be leaving the property. That's a time. If their loved one is getting confused and perhaps eating the wrong thing, and you've had to call poison control. Mm-hmm. If your loved one is having that phenomena that we lovingly call sundowners syndrome, if that's happening, those are the times that you really might want to think about it. And I would be really remiss if I didn't share with you that one of the most beautiful, I've had the privilege of being in this vocation for at least 25 plus years. And one of the most beautiful things that happens, and it happens with absolute regularity, mm-hmm. is when a family brings their loved one into memory care for the first time. The family is stressed and nervous and concerned that it's not going to work and guilt-ridden. Mm-hmm. But when their loved one suddenly is amongst his or her peers, mm-hmm. something beautiful happens. They no longer have to hide anything. They no longer have to feel like something's wrong with them. Mm-hmm. They can sit with a group and tell the same story 16 times, and no one in the group gets a little frustrated or impatient about it. So it's really, for the resident, for the person on the memory care journey, it is a beautiful thing when they are finally, at long last, allowed to be amongst their peers.
Yeah,
that's really comforting to think. It's really comforting to think about.
Well, to be completely transparent, my mom lives where you are, Revere Court up in Rockwall, and this has nothing to do with that. But the fact that when my sister and I, about a year and a half ago, we knew my mom was going to need memory care, and we talked to my dad about it, and he's like, okay, y'all need to find some place because I can't do this. And we looked around and we looked at several places, including Revere Court, and not to praise you too much, but because y'all run a great place and you know that, but we loved Revere Court when we saw it. And of course it took more than a year for us to finally get mom moved in, but it's so hard to find what's going to be the best place for your loved one and who has the best facilities to take care of them, who has the best people to take care of them. And I know that's big for you as well.
It is huge. And because everybody in long-term care, it's a growing business. It's, there you can find places on every street corner, it seems. But the reality is when the family leaves and their loved one is there, you want to really make sure that the people that you have met, that they are hands-on. It's not just someone that gave you a nice sales pitch. Everybody can do that.
Yeah.
You want to know what the care is like, whether you interface with other families who have loved ones there, whether you look at their state regulation, the regulatory end of things to see if they've had clean state reports. But I hate to dummy it down so much, Mike, but one of the things that I do is when I walk into a community, I'm looking for the vibe.
Mm-hmm.
If you walk in the door and it's deathly quiet and there's not much life happening, especially in memory care, you want to hear laughter, you want to hear some music, and you want to be able to see engagement happening. And that engagement, anyone who works in memory care, they should be engaging with your loved ones. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
So I always encourage families to really be aware of who you're talking to, and don't be afraid to walk away. It's an important placement. It's an important thing. And it's also a journey. Not only is your loved one on a journey, but so are you as the kids taking care of their parents. You're on a journey, and you want to be able to communicate and have a good rapport and a good relationship with whoever the administrator is at that community, and their team, and what is their philosophy. Because we can all package these things up and make us look good, but it's a vibe when you go in and and you bond and you feel it.
Yeah. And can you talk a little bit about the difference of how the care might look in a memory care versus an assisted living or some other kind of a community?
Sure. That's a great question. Memory care specifically is focused and designed on someone who is coping with some form of dementia. Right now, there's about 5 different kinds of dementia that they have identified. And so that community, they need to be specialists in all of those forms of dementia. And you can ask, don't hesitate to ask, is anyone here a certified dementia practitioner? Is, what your medical director, does your medical director have memory care in his or her background? Those are really important things. But what you're going to want to do is you're wanting to look to see that life enrichment piece that is so far and away from just activities. It's really engagement. It's, do you see administrative staff just sitting down talking to a resident and enjoying a little bit of time, eating lunch with them? A memory care community is truly, if it's run effectively, it's truly a community from the time you walk in, and everyone is involved. And I have often told my families over the years that if you're in a good memory care, if you walk in and you see people sitting at a chair, maybe reading a newspaper, someone's over there listening to music, someone's over there folding socks, you might see someone holding a lifelike baby doll. Those are things that are indicating to me that community knows how to engage in their residents and keep them fresh and keep them relevant, things that they enjoy. So we at Revere Court, we implement the Montessori method, which essentially says nobody is cookie cuttered. Everyone's an individual, and that's how we approach our programming with them. But it's always really cool to walk into a memory care where you really don't know exactly where a lot of the structure is and such, because you're walking into their home. And you want to feel that. You want to feel that. I mean, you may walk in sometime and there's an entertainer singing, or there's trivia going on or something like that. But it's very important for you as someone who is looking for memory care to see if it's a friendly and it's a lively place. Never do you want to see a row of residents just kind of, asleep and not engaged. That's not good. So.
Finally, any advice for those of us who maybe are in the process, we're not quite ready for memory care, either financially or because, like for my dad, he just wasn't there yet to move my mom. And what do you do in those last months or even years when you're just not quite ready to make the move into memory care? What can you do at home that's something kind of similar to what they get in memory care?
First of all, the most important thing is if the family is going to embark on that, because I fully respect, I was the caregiver for my dad for 5 years at home. The best thing to do is make sure that you as a caregiver are getting enough support. So through this fabulous Facebook group that you all have, the Alzheimer's Association has many support groups available online, offline, those kinds of things. Caregivers experience burnout, and that's when we become frustrated. That's when our patience isn't quite what it would be. That's when we start to physically get ill, especially if you are talking about a spouse taking care of another spouse.
Right.
And the last thing that anybody really wants to have to do is to place their loved one in memory care. But most families that I have interfaced with, they've waited about 6 months too long, because by the time they get their loved one into us, they are so tired. Maybe they're sick. Maybe they're the dad who's been taking care of his wife diligently and is to be commended for that. But now he's more sick, or he's tired, and so I think it's great to be talking about it. And the financial piece can be a little bit daunting. There's lots of options out there. So hopefully, if you tour a community, that community is going to be well versed in how to assist with VA benefits and things like that. So we're just, I'm so glad that you put this group together, and I hope that your followers, I wish them the best of luck. It's not easy. It's absolutely not easy, but it's so rewarding. And one thing I always tell my families when they move their loved one in is, you finally get to be a daughter again. You finally get to be a son again. You're not changing them. You're not feeding, and it really, it helps that dynamic. And so you have the opportunity to form some new memories that are just lasting and much more positive and such. So it's really a good move for everyone.
Yeah. Josie, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. No, thank you for having me. And most importantly, thank you for letting me take care of your mom. She is just dynamite. Love her.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Yeah, my mom is great. And it's been tough on us. It's been, 4 months now, and it's been especially tough on my dad, but people whether it's at Revere Court or anywhere, and there's so many places out there, and wherever you are around the country, there are places to look at and to consider, and it's going to be better for the person involved and for all of us.
Yeah, great advice of just being able to really look around and get the vibe and see and kind of know what to look for.
Yeah, get the vibe. And get the vibe here, because we're happy to help in any way we can. If you have any topics you'd like for us to talk to an expert about, please let us know.